I've been listening to everything everyone's saying, and there's a lot of good points. I hate the academia language, despite going to university, right? Because I feel like when we sit down and try to speak like academics or politicians, we lose sight of like the people that we're actually trying to help, right? In regards to education, I'm twofold on it. One being on this side where I've now received a post-secondary education and it's led into work, which I found, luckily, despite my criminal record, it's costed less money to educate me than it did to incarcerate me. At $120,000 per year to hold someone in a jail cell, if I look at the 6 years I spent away from my kids, that's almost $700,000, right? In the 4 years I've gone to school, to graduate from George Brown College, to go to Ryerson, to potentially graduate this year, it's only costed me $50,000, right? In student loans, right? Which I probably wanted to spend the rest of my life paying back. But the thing is this, is that if our government looked at the fact that if you gave me $50,000 and said go to school, versus $120,000 you spent to incarcerate me, that speaks volumes within itself. Those numbers should speak, right? But that's a post-secondary education. And I found it funny because I remember the first time I walked into a college and I went into a library and I saw a book that said Racism in Canada. I actually had to call a friend and ask him, I'm like, yo, is this book for real? Are they actually giving me something that's talking about the fact that we have racism in Canada? And I had to ask the man if the book is legal to take off the shelf. And I was like, Chucky, like, where you been? But the thing is, for me, I never really went to school growing up. My mom moved us around, so I went to 11 different grade schools. So I never fit into a school. By the time I got to high school made no sense because I was already on the block selling dope. Right? That was my option. That was my way out because education didn't mean to me. Right? I work with a lot of young kids now, and like as Brother Louis said, they can't read or write properly. Right? And you expect them not to go on the block and make money because that's real to them. They can hold it in their hand. Going to school for a lot of kids is like telling them to believe in God. You can't touch God. You can't see Him. See Him. This whole promise of living a better life, to not say, yeah, you can sit up in heaven and smile, that ain't. Because when He's here and His friends on the corner making money, His mom is a junkie, His pops is a drunk, the parents are getting beat up at home, that's what He can see. That's what He can touch. Right? So that's what He holds on to. When I dropped out of school, I would sit on the block with my book in my hand. And I remember sitting in Maypurse, going for a parole hearing, and them telling me, say, why do I read at a grade 12 level, despite the fact that I didn't even graduate out of high school. Right? To turn on my federal records, be told that because I am highly intelligent, I know how to manipulate a system. So at what point does education actually benefit us when we can strive and meet positive efforts, but then on the next end, have that same education flipped on us? Right? When you look at a right to pass, it's bullshit. You have a kid at grade 4 who you know he can't read and write properly, but yet you continue to pass him forward. Instead of failing him, put in the right supports in place to make sure he passes the next year. You want to sit there and say it's an injustice to fail him. It was an injustice to pass him. Because what did he learn? And you spoke about cultural identity, right? And going back to culture. I'm a mix of Chinese, Black, and Indigenous Carib. Where do I fit in? Right? Where's my racial identity within this? Right? Me and Brother Louis have had conversations about people that try to embrace the African identity and want to go back home. Right? But for most of us that came on the Caribbean diaspora or came here in the States and whatnot, that identity has been destroyed. And the Black identity that's been given to us is a negative one. It's one that's constantly fluid and changing. So, again, where's the cultural identity? When we live in a city like Toronto, that apparently its motto is diversity is our strength, it's a load of shit. Because you're told to conform in school. Right? You're told to stand up for a national anthem for an institution that's basically built on blood. you read a land acknowledgement, right? And every educational institution reads this acknowledgement. It's land acknowledgement. The land acknowledgement is a spit in the face of the people that actually had the land taken from them. Yes, I am thankful to sit on this land. You ain't giving back the fucking land. Yeah. And I'm sorry to swear, but it's facts. So where is education really helping us?
Yeah, good evening everyone. My name is Wairi Munjoroke. I am a social worker by profession and work as a psychotherapist. So as we're talking about the gun violence thing, I understand it from a mental health perspective, which hopefully I'll chime in as we go along.
Absolutely.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. Okay.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much. I think it's very important that our education system reflects the community at large. We need our young people to have role models, teachers who look like them. The story you've shared is very important, that the young kid that feels the teacher is connected is very important. Also, the curriculum we have is not working for our communities. That's why we need to change the curriculum and to bring back also including indigenous, black, the Caribbean contributions, the black Africans and so forth, and others also who are also feeling that the system is not working. So when our education system reflects of who we are, and we make sure the system is there to make sure that it's working for our young people. Last year, I have introduced work integrated learning. I've realized that a lot of our young people are dropping out of school and they don't have an opportunity to have skills. So putting them back into skilled trades and providing them those resources every year, those kids, whether they're in school or whether they are not in school, so that we provide resources to train them and to provide them jobs and connect them. And we integrate work, not the way it is now, because we need to also our youngsters who are succeeding, extremely doing very well in universities and colleges and high school, in colleges and universities, they have been asked when they graduate, experience. And some of them have a lot of, as our brother here talked about, loans, student loan. It's a shame that some of them have to find a job for many, many years for their field of study, 5 years, 10 years. So that's why also as the youth engagement critic that I proposed a motion last year to make sure that the students in school, that we put them into paid internships, co-ops and placements so that they can rotate every year a different department or municipalities or non-profit agencies to find them actually what they're studying is what they want. So they can earlier on decide that they gain experience while they're in school, so we integrate work and study. And also we invest early on also the issue of poverty and also other support mechanisms to strengthen the family and the communities at large. Those who are discriminated historically, the black community, the indigenous community, has not been on the table. Mm-hmm. And also it's important that we were talking about earlier that we have to be on the table. And that is also last election. It happened that the first time in any political party have elected enough members to form a caucus, a black caucus. And I'm proud to be part of that caucus because we know now our community has been stirred to death, mm-hmm. but has not been implemented, actioned, what the community want. Last year also we have deputations across the GTA, speaking to the black community, indigenous communities, and asking them what is the issues. And we have come to now, we know what the problems are. Mm-hmm. What we need is our governments to deliver a plan of action to support the community and invest in the community. In schools also, we need to have the curriculum completely mm-hmm.
Looked
into and included into our history, so that our kids feel something that they are looking forward to school.
Mm-hmm. In terms of the cuts to education
right.
that we have been grappling with, I guess, within the last year and a half,
yes.
since Ford has come
right.
to power, how do you think those cuts will impact gun violence? Because I'm thinking about the Harris years. Like, that's the year when gun violence really impacted me. In 2005, they dubbed it Year of the Gun. And I remember there were strikes when I was in high school. And I remember in '05 losing two of my closest friends, 16 and 17, to gun violence. And part of me is really scared that all this can play out again. And I'm wondering, for me, it felt like there was a connection during those Harris years. How do you think that these education cuts might impact gun violence in Toronto?
Definitely. I mean, if you cut education and healthcare, what they're trying to do is to say that to those of us who are working class and minorities across the province of Ontario, that we don't deserve an education. And what it means is they're trying to dismantle education, even though there's challenges we've talked about, how we need to improve, we need to include our stories, our experiences, so that our kids feel proud of who they are, where they come from. But I think this is a mistake, and what they're doing is to simply dividing communities, dividing students and parents and teachers, and to dismantle in the long haul our public education, so that those who are in government, as you know, this has not just started with Ford. For the last 15 years also has been a lot of neglect. Okay. So what we are experiencing is from bad to worse. And what we need is to say we have to take back our province, and all of us have to be part of resistance to demand that we're on the table and ask our governments what is the government's priority is to provide programs and services, and education is part of that.
Okay.
What the MP said, I think when we understand the root cause of the matter, those of us on the front line will then be able to work strategically to see what we can capitalize on, because it's the same narrative that has been going on for tens of years. And while that plan is going on, this we are doing, that we are doing, what's happening is we're sacrificing our children. The historicity of things will help us understand why what is it is. This form of education that is producing the consistent disability, the consistent violence, is doing what it was meant to do. Let me read this out very quickly. So this was something from a magazine that was shared with me. It's a newspaper actually written by Terry Schofer. The title of it is "Private Prisons Suing States for Millions If They Don't Stay Full." The subtitle is "Low Crime Rate, Bad for Business for White-Owned Private Prisons. They Demand States Keep Them Full." The Peel region, which is Coles home, over 20 years now, had a program for which they did a survey a research to find out if there was impact for that program. The response that were given by participants indicated the reason for which the program began in the first place 20 years down the road. My brother talked here about where do you identify? You are your bloodline, you are not flesh, just flesh and blood, and I know you know that. No one will give you identity, you have to find it, and it's a journey. One thing I will not do, when you know your history, you realize that back in the day in slavery for performance, the white people, they come and sit and hear us talk of our pain, hear us talk about the weeping, about the lashing, and I hope that that's not what we're doing here again today. We know the problem. What is the solution? The Jewish community, not to say we should emulate them, but to say with their agenda, what they did when they built their schools, they went door by door to knock on each other's door. Say, bring your child, let us educate. Bring your child. We don't have to have big schools like they have. No one will educate your child for you. I do not, it will only be a fool that will expect to take their children to an enemy, an oppressive state, to train, to teach, and you want to have a friend back. So what are we thinking? What are we trying to fix? It's like we are blaming the gun for shooting its target, like I always say. So again, when you cut off the head, the body will fall. You strip the child of his identity, he's entirely ruined. My brother now,
What you explained remind me of this story. I was just I was told it's a great analysis. You come into the place. They said, my brother, you've not bathed for 2 months and you're smelling. Go take a shower. Just go take the shower. But you see, you have to explain why you're not taking the shower. Why you're not. Go take the shower. It's there. The solution is in our culture. Our freedom came up in our culture. Our beautiful way of life was in our culture. Before we started identifying as anything else, Negro, colored, African American, all of that. Our ancestors knew that they were African people because with that came stories. With your name come your story. That's why they had to kill you to take it away from you. And in order, even the whole powerful God that we say is so powerful, whoever he is to us, could still not bring you down from the sky. He still has to go through a human being for you to be here. We have answer. Our ancestors have the answer. Our spirit healed. So what I'm just saying today is just so simple. When a child is born, a child is a product of his environment, is a product of his teaching. Like the MP mentioned, black caucus, this and all of that, they are ruled within the system of white supremacy. There's only so much they can do. However, if there is an organized group of us, we understand that this is what is meant to do, then we try to, it's like guerrilla warfare, as they say. So there are those that are hidden, that are financing, and there are those doing the work. So you can either spend your time finding out who to hold. Well, who to hold that? We've been trying to hold TDSB accountable for years, and there's always an explanation because it's a formula they are following. So the struggle is there, but we just have to decide, what are we spending our efforts struggling about? So now this beautiful lady is studying political science. Ask her who she is. She cannot answer. And you say you are educated and you don't know who you are. How can you be educated? I said I almost finished my master's before I knew who I was. And I'll come out and open my mouth to say I'm educated. And yet we wonder why we're running like chickens cut off head. From where you come from, before you speak in front of elders, you tell of your identity to your 6th generation. I am Osholene Oshobuke, the daughter of Igistomiamia, who is the daughter of Atetegbe or Semo, but that is the daughter of Agbaogo, that is the daughter of Igaga. So if that is how you brought up, where is identity crisis coming from? Now finally, what I want to say is the core of the issue is family. Because we're talking of building the race and we forget that family. Because you cannot have a neighborhood without a family. It's the family that builds the neighborhood, that builds the community, that builds the nation and the race. And as I had mentioned before, because she's my colleague, it's until we come together. In my sisters in Caribbean, they say, one more cocoa, full basket. We can't depend on the system to fund your freedom because their survival is dependent on our demise. So if we can come together, little effort, like our ancestors did in the past, lay down, at least we have tried, we have seen the system of our ancestors that succeeded, we have tried the system, we see that we are further and further in trouble. So if we can come together, so that we can support those grassroots workers, we build the families, we help the parents who need to be home to support these children. Little by little, and then we multiply. Just like to have that big apple tree, it starts with only one seed. So I think that's what we should start rechanneling our effort in order to, and those are the questions I want to see us ask. The cause, the solution, our demise is good for business for them. So we just ask ourselves, do we want to be the good business commodity who is suffering from it? Or do we then want to then take on our... It calls for strategy and it calls for you, my dear brother. You have a culture, you have a people.
Oh, I know that.
Exactly. So find it. And I'm here, I'm still here. I'm still here for us to talk because I was once in that boat, but I'm just saying we can no more be, because worse than what we've just expressed here, imagine how it's multiplying in the actual community. Thank you.
I think that's a very, very important point. But I think I want to also say, as an elected official and member of the community, that we are also taxpayers. What we are asking the government is not a free money. We are asking our taxpayers' money. We are asking our money to be invested in our communities, and that's also part of the process. It's a good idea that it starts what we can as individuals to help each other, but we might have limited resources, but we have to demand our governments, of all levels of governments, to invest what we need. And that's why I'm here to make sure our communities are heard loud and clear, and investment is invested what we want.
And my brother, I hear you. In theory, that is amazing, in theory. I'm saying that in practical, that has not been working. So what we can do is, we work with the front lines. Monies have been given, action plan has been given. They must sustain their priority. I just read to you.
Right.
Private jail, they are real. These are real. So if I give you money and then I will not have you in my prison anymore, I know you understand what I'm saying.
No,
so I'm just saying, then let's work together to see how it can happen.
But I understand, for some of the prisons, we talked about prisons, and I think what we haven't talked about is that there are many members of our community who are not being rehabilitated. What that means is we have to demand skills and education is provided to them while they are there. And when they come out in that environment, that there's also opportunities for jobs for them, that we can connect them. So what we need to do is to change the system, make sure that if they are, whatever reasons they end up in prisons, that we are investing their education there, that we are providing them skills, and also connecting to jobs, not necessarily returning them to where originally they came from, but on opportunities elsewhere that they can start new life.